Now, I want to make a point at this part of the session so that we know how God took sickness away from us. And we can see a picture of it in the Old Testament. The Old Testament is filled with pictures of what God's going to do through Christ. And back in the book of Leviticus, we see, beginning in the 16th chapter, the 5th verse, a picture of how God takes sickness away from His people. And here he's explaining a ceremony that He wants done by the nation of Israel. He's talking about Aaron, which was a priest, and what he's supposed to do. And he says, let him take from the children of Israel 2 he-goats for a sin offering and 1 male sheep for a burnt offering. Now, we're going to learn there's a direct connection between sickness and sin. Most of us don't understand what the Bible's talking about when it's talking about sin. We think it's just immoral act, but it goes far deeper than that. There's a direct connection between sickness and sin. So when we're seeing when the Bible talks about sin, He's also talking about sickness. We'll see that. Here in verse 6 it says, and Aaron is to give the ox of the sin offering for himself, to make himself and his house free from sin. You see, sin is a dangerous thing. The Bible says the wages of sin is death. So God's telling His people how to eliminate sin from their house and from their families. Now the Old Testament is different than the New Testament, but it's still the same principle. In verse 7, he said he is to take the 2 goats. Now it's important we understand about these goats. And put them before the Lord at the door of the tent of meeting. And verse 8, and Aaron will make a selection from the 2 goats by the decision of the Lord, 1 goat for the Lord and 1 for Azazel. Now, we're looking at 2 goats. Okay? They're both going to be an offering for sin, but this is where the term scapegoat comes in. These goats are going to have to suffer the punishment from the sins of God's people. And we're going to learn that Christ was a scapegoat for us. This is a picture of what Christ did for us at the cross. Okay? So He had to select between these 2 goats. In verse 10, the goat for Azazel is to be placed living before the Lord for the taking away of sin, that it may be sent away for Azazel into the wasteland. Now, verse 21, and Aaron, placing his 2 hands on the head of the living goat, will make a public statement over him of all the evil doings or the sin of the children of Israel, or of God's people, and all their wrongdoings and all their sins, and he will put them on the head of the goat and send him away. Now, we're going to learn later on that taking away of sin also heals. So it's important we get this part of the foundation laid. I want you to notice that He laid them on the goat, and then later on in that verse, and send the goat away out into the wasteland. Now, the goat took the sins of the people, laid it right on the goat. And then he was led out into the wilderness and cut loose. Now, out there is not a pleasant thing for a goat, because it's loaded with predators, and he is the prey. He is going to be attacked, devoured, and killed within a very short period of time. And that goat is never going to get to come back. And that sin and what is on that goat is never going to get to come back to these people. This is a picture of Christ and God, the Lord, taking sickness away from His people. Okay, we'll see that. Verse 22 says, "And the goat shall bear upon him all their iniquities unto a land not inhabited, and he shall let the goat go into the wilderness," where he's never to return. But he took away their sins. Okay, that's very important.